All right. Let's bring my video in and my shared screen. Um, and so I want to talk about Open Horizon because what Glen and Sharath have talked about is the IBM Edge Application Manager built on top of an open source project that IBM donated about 2 or 3 years ago to the Linux Foundation Edge project. So LF Edge, there's a number of projects. So it's called Open Horizon. Prior to that, it was just Horizon. And it's a now Open Horizon you see is a stage 2 growth project. And we've got a growing community now making contributions to Open Horizon, both just from IBM for sure, because it's sort of the core, open core to the product. But then we've got a whole surround of contributors that are looking at and contributing to the project itself. And there's some resources here similar to what Glenn described. So we talk about the management hub, and then the agents that run on your edge devices. And the edge device can be a whole variety of architectures, and we didn't talk too much about it. So it could be an ARM device, an ARM 64, or it could be an AMD 64. It could be a Raspberry Pi, so an ARM 32. And so I've got, various cluster of devices running different workloads. So I've got a Jetson Nano, that's an ARM 64, and then some Raspberry Pis running a mix of Raspberry Pi OS now, it's called, both the 32-bit and the 64-bit versions. And I've got also Open Horizon installed on my laptop. So you've got a whole variety of components that you can bring into this open source project. The management hub, it's sort of a set of containers. You can run it as a Kubernetes cluster. In the IBM case, we put a nice user experience on top of it. It's the IBM Edge Application Manager. It's our web console. And if we get a moment, I'll jump over to show you that. You saw a few of those in Sharath's presentation, and I'll take you there live in mine. But you can also, control it from the CLI if you wanted to. In our particular case, it runs on top of Red Hat OpenShift. So you can take IBM Edge Application Manager and deploy it in a hybrid cloud, multi-cloud environment. You can run it on an edge cluster and also in the cloud. So, pick your deployment models. You can, like Glenn talked about, air gapping your infrastructure. If you are a factory and you want it to be truly independent of cloud services, you can run as an edge cluster right on-prem, and you don't need the cloud infrastructure if you don't want to. So that's an important aspect of this. Now, how would you get started? So come and join us, because we've got a great mailing list. There's a whole variety of Slack channels about the various topics. So the agent, DevOps, docs, examples, the management hub itself. There's a set of community outreach projects. And so you can be a developer, you could be a problem solver. Come and join us, talk to us in Slack. We, pretty welcoming community. We run open governance, and all of our calls are open and recorded and publicly available. So you feel free to join and contribute. And, I certainly do. And many of us do join those calls. And so meet us there.
Yeah.
The next thing you might...
We need all kinds of people too, not just developers, right? Like document writer, anybody, right? If you have something, yes, some skills you can contribute, we'd love to have you join the project and save the world through edge computing.
Testers and so forth. So if you jump up to GitHub, you can find in the Git project. So there's an org for Open Horizon, and there's a whole number of pin repositories here. And so you can kind of go, so Annex is the agent that runs on the edge device. The Exchange is the runs in the cloud or runs on that edge cluster in Kubernetes or however you want to set it up. There's a whole variety of examples, MQTT and integrations with other services. If we get a chance, we'll talk about some integration we did with another LF Edge project from Intel called SDO. and really lets you do zero-touch deployments. So a number of projects, and I won't take you into all of them, but there's even the website itself. So you can come and join and really feel like you can engage not just at the product level, but at the core level as well. And that's what we really finding is very powerful with open source, is that there's a whole community, and so you can make it better, and you could come and make it better. You could also come and get support from IBM, and we've got a great management console to help you just manage your workloads, and especially as you get to greater scale. We've got a whole number of 5G providers now using IBM Edge Application Manager in their mechs. So if, as we start to do IBM Telco Managed Client, you can start to find Open Horizon and IAM embedded there.
Can I share one little secret about the software? The Annex,
of course.
The Annex repo, ANAX, that's actually the same piece of software that we use for the agreement bots and for the agents. And that harks back to the days when we made this system completely decentralized. Our original idea was that all these little edge machines would be making agreements with each other to collaborate. And that's still part of our global vision. So if that's something that interests you, Open Horizon is the place for you to be.
Okay, good. Yeah, so here's that playlist of I think most of them star you, Glenn. So if you want to come and you can come and listen, and they're all like, as a developer, I want to come and learn 5 minutes, right? Teach me about policies, teach me about patterns and how to containerize my workloads and then deploy to the management hub. So great set of small, very quick soundbite videos here that are really helpful.
Mostly short, but some of them are like 20-minute deep technical deep dive to like
most
security.
Of the ones that I've watched are really very powerful, 10 minutes or less.
Yeah, maybe the 20s are hard to listen to.
So did we get a chance to navigate the user experience? Let's maybe do that together. So we've got a whole number of IBM Edge Application Manager instances running in IBM Cloud. This particular one's running in IBM Cloud. It runs on top of OpenShift. And I've got a particular org. It's got 7 devices in it. And you can see there's a mix of ARM64 and Intel devices and ARM32. Looks like I've turned most of them off since we last checked. Let's go take a look at what they've got. So some of them are Raspberry Pis and some of them are Jetson Nanos. And I've got a supervisor and a Chromebook and even potentially an Android device. So you can start to push and define workloads that run on these types of devices. And so as you define your node policies and your constraints, they'll negotiate with the management hub what types of workloads should be deployed. And you do that through, first you take a set of services, and so you containerize a service. Often it might have a model. Maybe it's got a hard hat model or a mask model or anomaly detection model. Maybe it's an acoustic model. So there's a whole variety of models that you can put into your container. Sometimes you're collecting some sensor data. So it's the combination of this edge container running on say a Raspberry Pi or Jetson Nano connected to a camera or connected to a set of sensors. And they're getting data from other sensors. And so you can do all of the edge processing sort of without sending the data all the way to the cloud. You can really start to look for alerts. And so you see here, I've got a number of services defined, speed test and there's a worker safety one. I've done some examples. I took the same model that Prasad had built, and I took it and I trained with cloud annotations. So I used that to train my model. And then looks like it logged me out already, but I can do this live for you at some point. I've got a couple of these videos too. think I did this just a couple of minutes ago, and I put on my hard hat, and I actually, from my camera, I can turn my camera on. So I'm going to use my phone as a camera, and let's see if I can do this live here. This live demos are always great. So there's my camera. I'm going to put it on a little stand below me here. Oops, and I'll turn on let's take a manual picture so it's me. There we go. All right, so you'll see here that I'm in danger because it doesn't yet see a hard hat. And let's do a couple of frames a second. I think I'm doing 2 or 3 frames a second here. And we can put on my hard hat. When I put on the hard hat, you see that I'm safe. And so that's a good sign. So when I take off the hard hat, then we're going to throw an alert. And so I'm actually using that model as a TensorFlow model. It's using TensorFlow.js. And so that's a cool little way. And that's running as a containerized workload on my laptop. I've also run it on Jetson Nanos and Chromebooks. And so kind of clever. Let's go turn that off because it's kind of a weird shot of me there. I actually shared some of this in a code pattern. So you can jump up to IBM Developer. So if you go to developer.ibm.com and you search on either Edge, you can very likely find my code pattern. And we describe how to go build this. It's a nice little architecture. I think you saw a similar one from Prasad and Sharath, sorry. And so it started with our hard hat data set in the upper right corner. I uploaded all of that to Cloud Object Storage. I passed it over to Watson Machine Learning, and it trained a TensorFlow model. I downloaded that model, and then I put it into a container, and I registered that particular, both the app that sort of did the safety, not safe alerts, and the model itself. I put that into a container. I uploaded it to Docker Hub, and then I registered it as a service in IBM Edge Application Manager running on top of OpenShift. And then with the right set of node policies, told my agents that they should download that container and start to run. So it connected to my camera, and me as the worker and the hard hat, maybe I'm in a danger zone. And so as I enter and leave the danger zone, that's sort of I throw alerts from the edge device. So kind of clever little architecture there that you can build and take advantage of.